and welcome to my YouTube. Another teaching of Leonardo da Vinci and his lost painting of the Midion. The Midion is a diary. Absolutely, it is of a Leonardo da Vinci's works. It's magnificent. If you actually take a look at the Last Supper and you take a look at the Midion and the woman and the man, they're all the same. Many stylists I'm going to show you throughout this YouTube. I have over 1,000 YouTubes, and on top of all that, I'm going to show you some of his tricks. I'm going to show you how his stylists are the same, and a little miscellaneous that will go along the way. Okay, so let's get right to it, and I'm going to show you now when I click here that my image, how it changes so dramatically on the X-ray, but there's like hundreds of different ways. So this is the Midion. It so happens to be called Midion for the reason that they used to call each other best boyfriend in the whole wide world, and that's what Midion really means in Italian. And my belief is that he had 3 lovers at this time until I get more educated, but the way it follows is that Salai, S-A-L-A-I, and Melzi, M-E-L-Z-I, Francisca, and Leonardo da Vinci all lived together, except for Salai up to 1 year of his death. Salai was apparently received the Mona Lisa, is interpreted to be the stylist of the Mona Lisa, and many other images are within the Mona Lisa, within that stylist, within his painting, along with diaries, as a moving TV, as my father, God rest his soul, that is in heaven. Now, I'm going to show you that the images that we're going to be talking about right now is there's this writing that goes across in this area. And it is in the X-ray that comes out to be right here. It's written right here, and it's very hard to identify. When you go to blow it up, you'll see that it spells out many different things, but below it, it spells out to Salai, S-A-L-A-I. Okay, but here you'll see this man's face with this funny looking angled nose looking this way at this big face. Well, when you get into detail of it, it's 3 people in it and hundreds of other different images, but it changes from one face into many others. But when you open this up even more, you can see how the writing changes, and it looks like a G here and an R and then a and then a big R, and then a backwards E, or even a A for a man in his symbol, because that's what he used, and it continues because he's saying his stories. But in between the blacks is a whole nother thing that you have to find in another layer. We're going to get to this. Remember this, and I'm going to have to remember I put it right here. So somebody try to tell me what we put it in. Now this is the Mona Lisa. It's a section off under her right that's flipped 180, and I know it's very difficult to see because this is one of the colors in which, but it has the G in here, and it continues with the words here. But if you look at this little G, okay, it gets a big G. Okay, and that's the way Leo is, and then he writes a bigger G. He goes G, little g, bigger G, and it continues. And that's why it gets confusing in his works, because if you pull this back, you can see in the black, if you flow it, how a G can be squeezed into this. I know it sounds weird, but bear with me, please. Okay, watch within the Mona Lisa itself. Now this is the color where you can see the G. Now I'm going to pull the other one that hasn't been done in the same area, and it would be right here. Here's the G that you can barely see. Okay, and here's another little G. Imagine being crazy, wise, smart, obsessed, love, and you constantly wrote "I love you" or "God bless America," "God bless the whole world," and you continued to write it and write it and write it while you painted it, and you made a beautiful piece of art. That's what Leo did. Now, this is the second deal of how there's a big transfer between the black and the color. And then when you pull it even more, I got to get my bearings here. This is, excuse me, this is mine, which is this here, okay, which is this area of the face. Here's the face. So we're going to go here. We're going to show you when you open it up, you can't see the G. Oh, excuse me. You can barely see it right here. So it's very difficult to see these in different layers. It shows here. This G is this G. Okay? And what I'm trying to tell you is that when you pull these things in layers, I got skipped there, so you forgive me, like these, this layer of G and this layer of G, right here, here's the G, is going to be the same offset like in mine because it's in the different depth. Now I'm going to move these over and kind of try to show you something again. Now this is another layer of Leonardo da Vinci's of the same area, upside down. I'll show you where that is. And here's another G. And here's a little G. And it continues. And he has a bunch of little names and such here. That, again, is his trick. He constantly repeats himself in his copying. Don't give up on me. This is another X-ray of Leonardo da Vinci, Mona Lisa, and you can see the G much more buoyant and the wordings that go across, which match this. It's the same. You can tell it's the same because if you use the guy's outline in this area, that's where his face would go, where the G is. Now, to let you know, now we've gone through many different layers here. But now we're going to get into this. This is a layer of an X-ray in the Mona of Sali. It is the same that is in mine, and it should be this. Here's the same, but under a different transfer, which is this body right here. You see? So this nose, these eyes, these eyes. You see this color. You see this color. I'm losing my mouse pad. There we go. Sometimes you need 3 hands. This face is this face in here, right here. And it keeps going over and over and top again. But it gets trickier. Watch. This face is the same. 2 different layers of color. But watch this. It's going to get a little wilder. Now, I don't know if you can keep up. Okay. Okay. Now this particular one, if you see, look what I found. You see these lines? Okay. Now, those lines gets kind of funny because those lines show up in my man's lips. Watch. You see the NWD in his lips. when you take this, I just noticed this before, this is all of it, and you see this, here's N, backwards N, back, upside down M, and a similar close to the D. No, because it's that hard to see. But if you take this one, and you go to File, and you flip it 180, okay. You have the N, you have the W, and then you have the D that's not closed off here, but it's been blacked off because of the photo. So when you go back into mine, where did I put mine? How did I lose it? I've done that before. Okay. Somehow I misplaced my piece. So let me just go do it and get it, because I want to finish this. I want to finish this to where you understand it. Okay, so it must have slipped in here somewhere. So let's just go like this again, and I'll just go to a second page of it and open it. That way I get it, because it doesn't like to, it's hiding in there somewhere. It zipped on top of another photo. Too close. I wasn't paying. But the words are on, right across his mouth, upside down in the Mona, along with many other things. We're going to get into two more other photos, and you're going to see his trick with the Last Supper, and you're going to see his trick with his models. Okay, there's the NWD. Okay, it's on the bottom of the mustache. So when you end up with this particular piece here, and I try to make it as large as I can, and I take this and I try to reduce it as small as possible. And I want to overlay it. The two, I'm just going to let it pixelize a little. And that's where it's going to go. And this is even still too large. That's where it goes. Right there. Boom. Okay, so now you know that's where that goes. And look at that. You can even see the words below. There's an E here, and there's an E here. I never planned that. This kind of looks like an I, and it can curve like a C, and it goes right there. And don't forget, he makes his works move across the room. So with that, I want to show you something else. This is Jesus and Mary. This is Jesus, and this is Mary. As you can see, they are both the same if you put them both in the same costumes. With a mustache and a hat, my man is Jesus. My woman is the older woman of Mary. Now, there's going to get something else here. He's out in the forest, okay, and he's talking to her. with all his love, he's talking to her. In it is my I have this one white image that's going to show the wedding ring that he's proposing. Here it is. This, in his hand right here, he's talking and serenading to Mary, Madonna. And out of that, when you open this up, you can see the round ring in his finger. Look, see? Dot, 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 dot. It's smaller. That wouldn't fit on his finger. He's hiding it from her, playing, while she is there for a proposal. In this particular painting, throughout my 7 years, and thousands, literally beyond thousands of images in which I've gone through. It actually said one time on Christmas Day he didn't get a ring, and then it mentioned that he did. It even had the will to Melzi from his death. But let me show you how it spells out Leonardo. This is a big Santa sock. That's a backwards L. This is an E right in here. Runs this way, backwards. This is an O. And then he makes his ends with a slash. And then here's an A that runs on an angle. And here's an R on an angle. Okay. And here's a D on an angle. And then the blue O. Leonardo. Now here in black spells out Melzi. M F. Melzi Francesca. And don't forget that I told you that in here it spelled Sali. So they were a three-ring love, S-A-L-A-I. And then on top of that, there's a particular spot here. And it actually has an I above Sali, I with a heart, and then a U. I love you, Sali. Okay? And on top of that, it has his dates. Now, here is one other thing that's in here somewhere. I have obviously a lot of images than which I wanted to show you, but it's in here with the woman, and I'm going to find it before we say goodbye. Now this is Jesus and this is Mary. Okay, they're both the same. That's in my painting. I've showed those images, so forgive me that I'm repeating that. And that is what happens to be what we've talked about. This is again the image in which has the G in it. Whoops, that's written across in the blue, right in here. That is in the X-ray of the Mona Lisa upside down. Okay, so I told you about that. Now this so happens to have been the area in which I told you is the Mona Lisa, again upside down, and it's in this area where the pillar is. Okay, and it's written out in here many a times. Now you just can't just boot it and get into it and think you're going to see it. So whoever's doing the shots over in the Lou doesn't know that you have to do it in many different layers. Now this so happens to be, again, a different pull of the Mona, and again it is right here that I told you about. Now this is, again, I told you, it is written out Sali. It's also written out the same as the name, but see how the name right here across, and he puts this little house. If you see this house right here, he has this house right here, and the name runs across. Okay, and he writes Sali everywhere because you can see the twisted S's even in the darkness that he writes across the face many a times, not just one. So when you think you find one Sali, you find there, you're going to find an endless of Salis. Now, I showed you this image of how it's upside down with the same writing on my man's lips. Now this so happens to be, okay, the younger again of my woman, and you can see how this resemblance is absolutely the same. If when she turned older, it would be. And you can see the same type of artwork, which is extremely similar, if not the same, because his artworks are a copy, like a copy machine. And when you get into his x-rays, oh, here it is, another piece. When you get into his x-rays and you start looking, he has all his paintings in his paintings. He copies all his paintings and puts all his works within his works one way or another. Now this so happens to be a nativity